This podcast is brought to you by Shopify.
Welcome to another episode of the AI Analysis Podcast. To celebrate the return of our sister podcast, Classica Musica, we're taking a look at another of their past episodes. Today, we're exploring a really captivating conversation from Classica Musica. It features Miho Yamaji, who's an incredibly talented Koto player from Japan.
Right, and our source material for this exploration is basically excerpts from the YouTube transcript. The video is called Classica Musica with Dr. Peter Koto player Miho Yamaji.
Perfect. And for anyone listening who might not know, the Koto is this stunning Japanese stringed instrument. It's got a really long history, actually traces back to China originally.
Yeah, it's fascinating. So this is a great opportunity, I think, to get some insight into the instrument itself and, its cultural weight through her experiences.
Definitely. Okay, so let's get into it. Miho Yamaji, when this interview happened, she was actually in Portland, Oregon, taking a bit of a break from her performance tour.
And it sounds like she wasn't just relaxing, though. She had performances lined up for October.
Oh, really? Where?
Places like Portland State, Oregon State University, Clark College, even some historic chapels up in Vancouver, Washington. So pretty active.
Wow, yeah, busy schedule. And just before that Portland stop, she'd spent about a month, I think, in Moscow.
That's right, yeah, about a month in Moscow. She was teaching students at the Moscow Conservatory, which is, world-renowned.
Incredible. Teaching the Koto there must have been quite the experience.
Well, what's really interesting is how positive she was about it. She mentioned the language barrier, obviously, but felt she could really connect through the music itself.
Through her playing.
Exactly. She said the students were really talented, very motivated. It sounds like the music just transcended the language gap.
That makes sense. Music as a universal language, right?
Sort of, yeah. And it wasn't just teaching. She actually did concerts with the students, too, in an acoustic hall.
Oh, cool.
And there was also apparently a private concert planned at the Japanese embassy for, prominent Russian figures.
Sounds like a very musically packed and enriching trip then.
Definitely. It really highlights how music can bridge those gaps. The nuances in her playing, communicating things maybe words couldn't quite capture.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's rewind a bit. How did she actually start with the Koto? It was pretty young, wasn't it?
Yeah, super young. She started lessons at 5.
5.
But the story kind of starts even earlier. Her mother actually began learning when Miho was just 2.5.
Oh, okay. So it was in the house already.
Exactly. Little Miho would tag along to her mom's lessons. She'd just sit there, look at books, draw pictures while her mother practiced. So the sound was just always there.
Part of the background noise of her childhood?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then apparently at age 5, she just said, I want to learn too.
Just like that. It's amazing how that early exposure can spark something.
Totally. And there's another interesting part to her early learning. Her first teacher.
Oh, yeah. What about her?
Well, this teacher was the same age as Miho's mom, and she didn't have any children herself, so she apparently took Miho under her wing, treated her almost like a daughter.
Ah, so it was more than just lessons, a real connection.
Yeah, a really close bond. That kind of nurturing environment, especially for a young kid starting an instrument, must have been huge.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, let's talk about the Koto itself. You mentioned it came from China.
That's right, yeah. Its origins are in China. And it didn't arrive in Japan as a solo instrument initially. It came as part of Gagaku.
Gagaku, remind me.
Gagaku is basically considered the world's oldest orchestra. It's the traditional court music of Japan, played for centuries, very stately, unique sound.
Wow, oldest orchestra. That's quite a claim to fame for the Koto's background.
Isn't it? And initially playing Gagaku, and therefore the Koto within it, was really reserved for the elite.
Like the nobility.
The nobility, even the emperor.
Yeah.
It had this very high status imperial court association.
Okay. But something happened. You mentioned it moved west.
Yes.
Yeah.
During some period of conflict or upheaval, the Gagaku musicians apparently fled. They went to the west of Japan, specifically Kyushu.
Kyushu. Okay.
And it's there, in Kyushu, in a place called Zendoji Temple, that a monk named Kenji is sort of credited with. Well, with pulling the Koto out of the Gagaku ensemble.
And making it its own thing.
Exactly. Establishing it as an independent solo instrument. That's a really crucial moment in the Koto's history.
Fascinating how these things evolve. Okay, what about her family support? We know her mom played, but what about her parents more broadly? Were they musical?
No, actually. Both her parents were clinical laboratory technicians. So, not a musical background professionally at all.
Oh, okay. So they must have been a bit surprised when she decided to pursue music seriously.
Yeah, she said they were surprised. But the key thing is they were incredibly supportive right from the start.
Really? Even with the surprise?
Totally. Supported her going to university for music. And then later, she actually had some health issues after graduating and went home, even considered quitting the Koto altogether.
Oh, wow. How did they react then?
They were just accepting. No pressure either way, just supported her.
That's amazing support. Really understanding.
It really is. And then when she decided, okay, I want to play again, they were right there behind her. Supported her overseas trips, competitions, never pushed her about practicing or anything like that.
So they weren't like stage parents.
Not at all. The only time they ever really stepped in was when she was young and practicing like crazy.
So crazy.
Like 15 or 16 hours a day.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they just gently said, maybe dial it back a bit, worried about her physical health.
Right, that makes sense. So their support was more about enabling her, giving her the space and resources.
Exactly.
Like,
Enabling her activities,
yeah.
not trying to direct her playing. That kind of hands-off encouragement. It lets you find your own way, your own motivation.
Yeah, that intrinsic drive. So, okay, even with that support and early start, were there challenges? Did she ever struggle learning?
Well, she mentioned one specific piece. It was called Sarashi Futeju, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She encountered it in 4th grade. And it was apparently the first time a piece didn't just click immediately.
The first hurdle. What did she do?
She started waking up an hour early before school just to practice that one piece.
Wow, dedication, even back then.
Right. And again, her mother never made her practice. That drive seemed to come purely from her.
Interesting. But then high school, I heard her path almost went totally differently.
Yeah, it's quite a story. She was actually interested in becoming a veterinarian.
A vet. Seriously.
Yeah.
That's a world away from Koto player.
Right. It would have meant focusing on science subjects, but her homeroom teacher.
Ah, the teacher again. What did they do?
Well, apparently from the first year of high school, this teacher kept suggesting she should aim for art university and pursue the Koto. Probably because her mom had mentioned her Koto playing.
So the teacher saw the potential early on.
Seems like it. But Miho initially chose the science track anyway.
Sticking to the vet plan.
For a bit. But then, kind of serendipitously, in her 2nd year, she ended up being placed in a humanities class, not science.
Huh. Okay.
But even then, she was still kind of thinking about being a vet. Until her 3rd year, something pretty significant happened.
Okay, this sounds like the turning point. What was it?
She went to a concert in Okayama. It was a performance by 12 students, 2nd years, from the Sawai Kazu Koto School at Tokyo University of the Arts.
Okay.
And the quality of their playing just blew her away. She said it was unlike anything she'd ever heard before. It moved her deeply.
Wow, so seeing that level of artistry.
Exactly. It just ignited something. She immediately felt this really strong pull, this desire to study with them, to play like them.
And that was it. Vet plan's out the window.
That was the moment. It completely changed her direction. She decided then and there to commit fully to becoming a professional Koto player. It really shows you the power of witnessing great art, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That one experience shifted everything. So what is it about the Koto itself? What draws her to it so deeply?
She actually finds that a bit hard to put into words because it has so many facets.
Okay.
But she talks about the sheer range of sounds it can make. It's got 13 strings, each with its own movable bridge.
Right, so you can fine-tune it very precisely, create different scales.
Exactly. So it can sound really clear and pure, almost like a harp sometimes. But it can also produce these more complex, textured, resonant tones, maybe closer to a zither. That versatility is definitely part of it.
So the sound itself is a big part.
A huge part. But it's more than just the notes being played. She's also fascinated by the moments between the notes.
The silence.
Yeah, the way the sound lingers and fades into silence. And then the impact when a new sound emerges from that silence. She finds both aspects, the sound and the silence, equally.
Yeah.
She used the word eel, mirikuteki. Charming, appealing.
That's a really poetic way to think about it, the space around the music being as important as the music itself.
That really is a very kind of contemplative view. So going back to her learning, she said it wasn't really difficult at the start.
Yeah, apart from that one piece in 4th grade.
Right, that Sarashi Futeju. But she practiced and mastered it pretty quickly. Before university, she didn't really feel like she hit any major walls or felt like she couldn't play it.
Seems like she had a real natural affinity for it.
It does seem that way.
Hmm?
But university, of course, is a whole different ballgame. Tokyo University of the Arts. What was that like?
Well, it sounds quite structured, lots of required credits, and because she was also getting a teaching license.
Ah, okay. That adds more requirements.
Yeah, so piano and voice lessons were mandatory, which must have broadened her musical horizons beyond just the Koto.
Definitely. So it wasn't just laser focused on Koto.
Not entirely. She also had to learn other instruments, too. Western ones like flute and even pipe organ.
Pipe organ, wow. Yeah. And also another style of Koto playing, Yamadari Sukioku. Her main style is Gyudari. So this was a different tradition, different techniques, different repertoire.
I'd say different Koto schools.
Right. Plus Koto singing and traditional Japanese flutes like the few in Ritikeri. It sounds like a really comprehensive and probably quite demanding education.
No kidding. Covering a huge range of musical ground.
Okay. Shifting gears a bit.
Hmm.
Does she have a favorite composer? For the Koto, I mean. She does. His name is Kenji Mitsuzaki. He was active back in the Edo period.
The Edo period. So 17th to mid-19th century Japan, roughly.
That's the one. And what she loves about his music is that even though it's centuries old, she feels it still sounds incredibly fresh and compelling today.
That's always the sign of great music, isn't it? Timelessness.
Absolutely. And she also mentioned his compositions are really diverse. Each piece has its own distinct character, its own world.
Interesting.
Apparently, he was maybe a bit ahead of his time. She mentioned he reportedly got expelled from the Koto community, faced a kind of unfortunate end.
Oh, that's sad for him. But lucky for us, he left the music behind.
Exactly. Despite whatever difficulties he faced, his compositions endured and are clearly still deeply valued by players like Miho Yamaji today.
Okay. What about performers? Any non-Koto performers she particularly admires?
Yes, she mentioned one contemporary performer, the pianist Daniil Trifonov.
Oh, Trifonov. Yeah, he's incredible.
She's a big fan, owns his CDs, even a record her husband bought for her. Tries to catch his concerts when she can.
It's always interesting to hear which artists inspire other artists, especially across different instruments and genres.
It really is. Shows how music connects on different levels, which kind of leads into her musical partnership with Pavel.
Right, Pavel. Tell us about that collaboration. What makes it work?
Well, she describes their musical sensibilities as quite different. Pavel, apparently, tends to notice things in the music, maybe nuances or background textures that she might initially overlook.
Oh, interesting. So they bring different ears to the table?
Precisely. She finds his insights often lead her to new understandings of the music. She described his musicality as really interesting.
So it's not just about finding common ground.
It seems like it's more than that. Like their contrasting approaches actually create something new, a synergy. It expands what they can do together rather than just making it easy to play together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it sounds like a very dynamic partnership where the differences are actually a strength.
That's the impression. She said their connection started through music, and their whole journey has been about tackling challenges together, musically.
That sounds like a really rewarding way to collaborate. Okay, we'll return to our analysis after a brief word from our sponsor.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. You've got an idea. How easy is it to actually build your online store with Shopify?
Well, that's clearly a major focus for them. Ease of entry. They have this online store editor, loads of themes you can customize. The idea is you don't need to be a web developer to get something professional looking online.
Right, no coding required.
And then there's the Shopify App Store. Think of it like building blocks. Need advanced email marketing? There's an app.
So you can kind of layer on functionality as you grow rather than needing everything up front.
Precisely. It lets you start lean and add tools as you actually need them.
And they handle some of the tricky bits too, don't they? Like getting your domain name, the web hosting.
Keeping all that integrated definitely smooths out the process.
But a store isn't much good if you can't sell from it, or if you want to sell in other places too.
Yeah, and that's where their whole sell everywhere concept comes in. It's not just about your .com anymore.
Right, so obviously your online store, but also physical stores.
Yep, with their point of sale system, so you can manage online and in-person sales together.
And social media.
Absolutely. Integrations for selling directly on social platforms, marketplaces, plus tools for international selling, even wholesale or B2B.
All managed from one place.
And they really emphasize their checkout.
The world-class checkout. Why is it so important?
Think about it. You do all this work to get someone interested, get them to add to cart. The last thing you want is a clunky, slow, or untrustworthy checkout page making them leave.
So connecting all those sales channels helps you reach more people, and a good checkout helps you actually convert them. And what about the physical side, getting orders out the door?
Yeah, logistics. Shopify Shipping aims to simplify that. integrated shipping labels, better rates, inventory management tools. Plus, they have automation tools like Shopify Flow, which can handle repetitive tasks, freeing up your time.
Automation is always good.
And they're embracing AI, too, with Shopify Magic.
AI. For what?
Things like generating product descriptions, suggesting email subject lines, basically using AI to help merchants work faster and smarter. From the moment you have an idea, through setting up, selling everywhere, marketing, managing operations, scaling up, they aim to provide the tools and support for each stage.
Ease of use at the start, but power and flexibility as you grow. Click the link in the description and get your first 3 months for $1 each. Welcome back. So, just to sort of pull things together, this interview with Miho Yamaji, it really gives you some fascinating glimpses into her world, doesn't it?
Definitely. We heard about that very early start with the Koto, almost by accident, just being around her mother's lessons.
Right, and the crucial role of her parents. Not musicians themselves, but just providing that unwavering, non-judgmental support.
Yeah, that was really striking. And then the history of the Koto itself coming from China, part of Gagaku.
And then that key moment with the monk Kenji in Kyushu, setting it on its path as a solo instrument.
And we can't forget that pivotal concert experience in high school, the one that made her ditch the vet plan and go all in on music.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And her description of the Koto's appeal. It wasn't just the sound, but also that focus on the silence, the space between notes. That was really insightful.
It was. And then the sheer breadth of her training at Tokyo University of the Arts, piano, voice, organ, other Koto styles.
Really shows the depth of study required. And finally, hearing about her admiration for composers like Mitsuzaki, performers like Trifonov, and that synergistic partnership with Pavel, it all paints a picture of a really dedicated and thoughtful artist.
So I guess the takeaway here is, well, it's about the immense dedication involved in mastering an instrument like this, isn't it? It goes way beyond just technique.
Yeah, it's a deep dive into its history, its sound, even its silence, a whole cultural and sonic world.
Which kind of leaves us with a thought, maybe for you listening, think about those moments in your own life. Maybe small things, unexpected encounters, like that concert for Miho Yamaji. What experiences have really nudged you onto a different path, maybe one you didn't expect?
And perhaps, take a moment sometime to actually seek out some Koto music. Explore that sound world she described. You might just find something that really resonates, something quite beautiful and unexpected.